Hannah pressed her face against the small window of the transport ship and watched as Kepler Station grew larger and larger before her eyes. The massive structure looked like a giant metal flower floating in the darkness of space with its many arms reaching out in different directions. She had never seen anything so beautiful or so scary at the same time. The 17-year-old girl from Seoul had been chosen from millions of young people across Earth to represent humanity in the first cultural exchange program with the Galactic Council. Her parents, Lee and Park, had cried when she left Earth 3 weeks ago, but they were also proud that their daughter would be the first human to live among alien species. Hannah carried only a small bag with her most precious belongings. Inside were packets of rice seeds from her grandmother's farm in the countryside, a crystal drive that contained recordings of traditional Korean folk songs that her mother had sung to her as a child, and dozens of drawings she had made showing mountains, rivers, and cherry blossom trees from Earth. She wanted to show the aliens what her homeworld looked like. The transport ship docked with a loud clang that made Hannah jump. A tall robot voice announced that they had arrived at Kepler Station, and all passengers should prepare to leave the ship. Hannah took a deep breath, picked up her bag, and walked toward the exit. Her heart was beating fast with excitement and fear. The first thing that hit her when she stepped onto the station was the smell. It was clean and metallic, but also had something else mixed in, like flowers, but not quite flowers. The air felt different, too thicker somehow, and it made her voice sound strange when she whispered, "Wow," to herself. The docking bay was enormous, with a ceiling so high that Hannah could barely see. The top ships of all shapes and sizes were parked in neat rows. Some looked like Earth ships, but others were completely alien. One looked like a giant crystal, another like a living tree, and one seemed to be made entirely of flowing water. A small furry creature, with 6 arms, approached Hannah. It was only as tall as her waist, but its big round eyes were friendly and curious. It spoke in perfect English, which surprised her, even though she had been told that most council species use translation devices. "Welcome, young human. I am Pip of the Niblet people," the creature said, while all 6 of its arms moved in what seemed like a greeting dance. "We have been very excited to meet you. Many of us have never seen a human before." Hannah smiled and bowed the way her parents had taught her. "Thank you, Pip," she said. "I am very happy to be here, and I hope we can be friends." Pip made a sound like laughing, and its fur changed from brown to a bright blue color, which Hannah learned later meant the Niblets were pleased or happy. Several other creatures had gathered around them now, and Hannah felt like she was the most interesting thing they had ever seen. A tall being that looked like it was made of living crystal approached them. Its body sparkled with different colors that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. When it spoke, its voice sounded like wind chimes. "I am Zara of the Vorthak people," the crystal being said. "We communicate through light as well as sound, but we have learned your language for this meeting. We are honored to meet the first human child." Hannah reached into her bag and pulled out one of her drawings. It showed Mount Fuji with cherry blossoms in the foreground. "This is from my world," she said. "I brought many pictures to show you what Earth looks like." The creatures gathered closer to look at the drawing. Their reactions were amazing. Pip's fur changed to several different colors. Zara's crystal body began to glow brighter, and several other aliens made sounds of wonder and amazement. One alien that looked like a walking tree reached out with a branch-like arm to gently touch the paper. "This is beautiful," said Zara. "Your world has much natural beauty. We have heard that humans are artists and creators. This proves it is true." Over the next few hours, Pip and Zara showed Hannah around the station. They visited the market areas where aliens from dozens of different species traded goods and services. Hannah saw foods that glowed in the dark metals that seemed to flow like water, and technologies that seemed like magic to her Earth-trained mind. They took her to the observation deck where she could see the stars and nearby planets through massive, transparent walls. The view was so incredible that Hannah had to sit down. Her legs felt weak from the beauty of it all. She had dreamed of seeing the galaxy, but the reality was far beyond anything she had imagined. "This is where the council meets," Zara explained, pointing to a large circular room with hundreds of seats. "The representatives of 47 different species gather here to make decisions that affect the entire galaxy." Hana noticed that some of the aliens they passed looked at her differently than others. While most seemed curious and friendly, others watched her with what looked like suspicion or even anger. She asked Pip about this during their walk. Not all species are happy about humans joining the council, Pip explained, quietly. Some think your people are too young, too aggressive. They worry about what might happen if humans become powerful in the galaxy. But we just want to be friends. Hana said, I brought seeds and music and pictures I want to share, not fight. Pip's fur turned a sad purple color. I know, young one. But some beings fear what they do not understand. And humans are very different from most of us. You learn fast, you adapt quickly, and your species grows in numbers very rapidly. Some see this as dangerous. That evening, Hana was given quarters in the diplomatic section of the station. Her room was small but comfortable, with a bed that adjusted to her human body and a communication screen that could connect her to Earth. She decided to record a message for her parents, Mom, Dad. She said to the camera, I made it safely to Kepler Station, and it is more amazing than we ever dreamed. The aliens here are so different, but most of them are kind. The niblets change colors with their emotions, and the Vorthak are like living jewels. She showed her parents some of the drawings she had shared with the aliens and told them about the food she had tried and the incredible sights she had seen. But she did not mention the suspicious looks or Pip's warnings. She did not want her parents to worry. Tomorrow I meet with the full council, she continued. I will show them all the things I brought from Earth and tell them about our culture. I hope I can make them see that humans want to be good members of the galactic community. As she prepared to sleep, Hana looked out her room's small window at the stars. She thought about her grandmother's rice seeds and how they would grow into something beautiful if planted in good soil. She hoped that her presence here would be like planting seeds of friendship between humans and aliens. What Hana did not know was that in another part of the station, Commander Doc was meeting with other council members who shared his views about the human problem. The reptilian being's cold eyes reflected no warmth as he spoke about the need to send Earth a clear message about humanity's place in the galaxy. The innocent girl from Seoul slept peacefully that night, dreaming of the day when ships from Earth would regularly travel between the stars, carrying more seeds, more music, and more friendship to share with their new alien neighbors. She had no way of knowing that her own life would become the seed of something far darker than she could ever imagine. The emergency alert screamed across every communication device on Earth at exactly 3:47 a.m. Pacific Time. Fleet Admiral Kim Dae-ho was pulled from his sleep by the urgent beeping of his personal communicator. The message was simple but terrifying. Priority 1, alert from Kepler Station. All senior staff report to command immediately. Admiral Kim had served in Earth's space fleet for 30 years, but he had never seen his officers move so quickly. The underground command center beneath the Pacific Ocean filled with Earth's top military leaders within minutes. General Yoon Seo-jun arrived still wearing his pajamas, but with his uniform jacket thrown over the top. Dr. An Mi-young, the head of Earth's xenobiology department, ran through the corridors with her hair still messy from sleep. The main screen in the command center flickered to life, showing the official seal of the Galactic Council. Commander Doc's reptilian face appeared, filling the massive display. His cold yellow eyes stared directly into the camera, as if he could see through space itself to look at every human on Earth, people of the primitive world called Earth. He began, his voice carrying across the galaxy with crystal clarity. Your species has been judged by the Galactic Council and found wanting. You reproduce too quickly. You learn too fast, and you show dangerous signs of military ambition. Admiral Kim felt his blood turn to ice as Doki continued speaking. Behind the reptilian commander was a raised platform, and on that platform lay a small, still form that every human recognized immediately. Park Hana's body was displayed like a trophy, her traditional Korean dress torn and stained, her young face peaceful in death. The council chamber was filled with representatives of 47 different species. Most watched in silence as Doc gestured toward Hana's body with one clawed hand. This human child came to our station claiming to bring friendship and cultural exchange, but we have seen through your species' lies. You sent her to spy on us, to learn our weaknesses to prepare for your inevitable invasion. President Choi Min-jung burst into the command center still wearing her nightgown over her clothes. Her face was pale and her hands shook as she stared at the screen. The leader of Earth's government had personally selected Hana for the cultural exchange program. She had met with the girl's parents had promised them their daughter would be safe. Commander Doc's speech continued with cold precision. We have voted and the decision is final. Humanity will not be granted membership in the Galactic Council. Your species will remain confined to your solar system. Any human ship that ventures beyond will be destroyed. Any attempt to establish colonies will result in their complete elimination. The camera moved closer to Hana's body, showing her small hands, still clutching one of her drawings. The paper was crumpled, but Admiral Kim could see it was the picture of Mount Fuji with cherry blossoms, the same drawing she had shown to alien children who had laughed with joy at seeing Earth's beauty. And if your species attempts any form of retaliation, Doc continued, his voice growing even colder, we will not hesitate to eliminate your entire planet. The death of this one human child is a small price to pay for galactic peace. Your world will serve as an example to other young species who might consider challenging the established order. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the command center in complete silence. Admiral Kim stared at the blank screen, his mind struggling to process what he had just witnessed. The girl who had left Earth 3 weeks ago with dreams of friendship between species had been murdered by the very beings she hoped to befriend. General Yoon was the first to speak, his voice barely above a whisper. They killed her. They killed a child to send us a message, Doctor. An was crying openly, her hands pressed to her mouth as she stared at where Hana's image had been moments before. She was just 17 years old, she whispered. She brought them seeds and music and drawings. She wanted to show them how beautiful Earth was. President Choi collapsed into a chair, her face in her hands. How do I tell her parents, she asked. How do I tell Lee and Park that their daughter is dead? How do I tell the world that our first ambassador to the stars was murdered for the crime of being human? The answer came from an unexpected source. Captain Jae Sung-ho had been standing quietly in the corner of the room. His stealth ship had been on a routine patrol near the edge of the solar system when the transmission arrived. He was younger than most of the senior staff, but his eyes held a coldness that matched Commander Doc's. You don't tell them anything yet, he said quietly. All eyes turned to him as he stepped forward. You don't tell anyone anything until we know exactly what we're dealing with. Admiral Kim frowned at the young captain. What do you mean? Captain Jay moved to the tactical display and began calling up star charts, shipping routes, and council military positions. For the past 6 months I've been running reconnaissance missions beyond the solar system. The council thinks we don't know about their patrol schedules, their supply lines, their communication networks. But we do. The room fell silent again as the implications of what Jay was saying sank in. Dr. An looked up from her hands, her tears still flowing but her scientific mind already working. They killed Hana to send us a message, she said slowly. But they also just gave us something we never had before. What? General Yoon asked. Complete intelligence on every council species, Doctor. An stood and moved to her own console, pulling up files she had been working on for months. I've been studying their biology, their technology, their social structures as part of the cultural exchange program. I know their weaknesses, their fears, their physical limitations. Admiral Kim felt something cold and dangerous settling in his chest. They wanted to send us a message. President Choi looked up, her face no longer showing grief but something much more frightening. They succeeded, she said, but I don't think they're going to like the message we send back. Over the next hour, the command center filled with more personnel. Earth's top scientists, military strategists, and intelligence officers gathered around the central table. Captain Jay displayed reconnaissance data that showed council fleets were spread thin across the galaxy. Most of their ships were old, and their crews had never faced a real military threat. Doctor An shared biological data on every known council species. She had been preparing cultural briefings to help future human ambassadors interact safely with aliens. Now that same data would serve a very different purpose. Each species had specific vulnerabilities that could be exploited. General Yoon began outlining military assets that had been hidden from Council observation. Earth's space fleet was larger than the aliens knew, and far more advanced. Humanity's rapid technological development hadn't stopped with achieving faster-than-light travel. It had accelerated. The meeting lasted until dawn, but when the sun rose over the Pacific Ocean, Earth's leadership had made a decision that would change the galaxy forever. President Choi stood before the assembled group, her voice steady and cold. "We will not tell the world about Hana's death yet," she announced. "We will observe 7 days of silence. No transmissions beyond the solar system, no communication with any council species, no indication that we received their message at all." Admiral Kim nodded, understanding the strategy. "Let them think we're cowering in fear. Let them believe their threat worked." Captain J smiled for the first time since entering the command center. "While they're celebrating their victory over the primitive humans, we'll be preparing our response, Doctor." An was already working at her console, uploading data to secure servers. Every council species, every planet, every weakness she had discovered, Commander Doc wanted to send Earth a message about humanity's place in the galaxy, she said without looking up from her work. President Choi walked to the window overlooking the ocean where the first light of dawn was painting the sky pink and gold. "We'll send them one back," she said quietly. "But our message won't be delivered with words." As Earth began its 7 days of silence, the galaxy's newest species started preparing for war. But this would not be the kind of war the Council expected. It would be swift, precise, and absolutely devastating. And it would begin with a simple truth that Commander Doc had failed to understand. Humanity's greatest strength was not their technology or their numbers. It was their willingness to sacrifice everything to protect their children. And in killing Park Hana, the Council had just made the greatest mistake in galactic history. For 6 months, Earth went completely silent. No ships left the solar system. No messages were sent to the galactic network. No response came to any Council communication attempts. The silence was so complete that it seemed as if humanity had simply vanished from existence. Commander Doc stood before the Council assembly and declared victory over the human threat. "The primitive species has learned their place," he announced to the gathered representatives. "Their silence proves that our message was received and understood. No human ship has been detected beyond their solar system in half a year. They cower in fear, knowing that any aggressive action will result in their complete destruction." Many Council members celebrated this apparent success. The younger species took it as a lesson about challenging the established galactic order. Even some of the older, more experienced representatives seemed satisfied that the human problem had been solved without further bloodshed. But the Vorthak crystal beings flickered with nervous energy whenever the topic was discussed. Zara, who had befriended young Hana during her brief time on Kepler Station, stood before the Council with her crystalline form pulsing anxious colors. "This silence feels wrong," she said, her voice like wind chimes in a storm. "I have observed many species retreat after conflict, but never with such complete withdrawal. It feels less like surrender and more like preparation." Commander Doc dismissed her concerns with a wave of his clawed hand. "You project your own guilt onto the situation, Zara. The humans are primitive and emotional. They need time to accept that their dreams of galactic conquest have been crushed forever." But Zara was not the only one who felt uneasy. The Niblets had also grown fond of Hana during her visit, and their normally cheerful fur had remained dull brown for months. Pip approached other Council members with his 6 arms, gesturing frantically. "We should send observers to their solar system," he suggested. "We should verify that they truly understand the consequences of aggression." The Council voted down his proposal by a wide margin. Most representatives saw no need to waste resources monitoring a defeated species. The humans had been taught their lesson and would undoubtedly spend generations recovering from the shock of losing their first ambassador to the stars. What the Council did not know was that human observation posts hidden throughout the galaxy were recording their every movement. Captain J operated from a stealth vessel that used technology far beyond anything the aliens possessed. His ship could remain invisible to all known detection methods while gathering detailed intelligence on Council activities from his position near the Vorthak home system. Captain J watched as crystal ships moved in predictable patterns. Their patrol routes had not changed in decades. Their communication frequencies were easily intercepted, and their defensive strategies were based on fighting other Council species, not humans. Every detail was recorded and transmitted back to Earth through quantum channels. The Council could not detect. Similar observations were taking place throughout Council space. Lieutenant Park, So Young, monitored military installations near the reptilian homeworld, where Commander Doc's species lived. Major Kim Jin-woo tracked supply convoys that moved resources between allied worlds. Sergeant Lee Hye-jin cataloged weapon systems defensive positions and fleet deployments across 47 different star systems. The data flowed back to Earth, where it was analyzed by teams of specialists who worked around the clock. Dr. An had assembled the greatest collection of xenobiological intelligence in galactic history. She knew the dietary requirements of every Council species, their reproductive cycles, their psychological weaknesses, and their genetic vulnerabilities. Working alongside her, Dr. Sung Min-ho led a team of weapons specialists who were developing delivery systems that could target specific biological markers. Each Council species would face threats designed specifically for their physiology, airborne agents that were harmless to other species but deadly to their targets, viral weapons that could be transmitted through their preferred communication methods, psychological warfare techniques that exploited their deepest cultural fears. The research facilities hidden beneath Earth's surface had become something the galaxy had never seen before. Humanity's rapid technological advancement had accelerated beyond all previous measurements. In 6 months, human scientists had developed weapon systems that surpassed anything. In the Council's arsenal, General Yoon walked through the underground training facilities, where Earth's most elite soldiers prepared for operations that would span the entire galaxy. These were not the peacekeepers and explorers who had first reached for the stars. These were humanity's apex predators trained specifically to hunt alien species across hostile environments. Each soldier carried equipment designed for multi-species combat weapons that could adjust their output based on the targets, biology armor that could adapt to different atmospheric conditions, communication systems that could hack into any known alien technology. The soldiers themselves had been selected for their ability to operate independently in deep space for extended periods. Sergeant Park Hyun-woo practiced combat scenarios in simulated alien environments. His armor displayed holographic images of Hana's drawings, the same pictures she had brought to share with the Council. The image of Mount Fuji with cherry blossoms served as a constant reminder of what they were fighting to avenge. Every soldier carried similar personal connections to the murdered girl. The weapons being developed were beyond anything the Council could imagine. Dr. An's biological research had led to the creation of species-specific viruses that could be transmitted through air, water, or physical contact. Each pathogen was designed to target genetic markers unique to specific alien species, while remaining completely harmless to humans and other Council races. Dr. Sung's delivery systems could deploy these weapons through multiple vectors: atmospheric processors that could contaminate entire planets, food supply infiltration that would spread through normal consumption patterns, communication device contamination that would activate when aliens use their own technology against them. Admiral Kim stood in the main command center, surrounded by displays showing every Council world, every patrol route, every communication hub, every military installation was marked and cataloged. The invasion plan was elegant in its simplicity and terrifying in its scope. 47 different star systems would be hit simultaneously, using tactics specifically designed for each target president. Choi visited the facility daily, reviewing progress reports and approving resource allocations. The transformation of Earth's infrastructure was unprecedented. Every industrial facility had been converted to military production. Every research institution focused on alien warfare technology. Every communication network was dedicated to coordinating the coming assault. The silence that had initially seemed like defeat was actually the most intensive military preparation in human history. Humanity had united behind a single purpose with a focus that the Council could never have imagined. Every person on Earth understood that they were preparing not just for war, but for the complete restructuring of galactic civilization. Captain J transmitted his final reconnaissance report from the edge of Council space. All targets confirmed, he reported, all defensive positions mapped, all communication networks compromised. We are ready to begin the next phase. The message reached Earth, where Admiral Kim and his staff made their final preparations. The ships were ready, the weapons were loaded, and the soldiers were prepared for deployment across the galaxy. Earth's response to Hana's murder would begin with simultaneous strikes against every Council world in the depths of space where Hana had died 6 months earlier. Her memory lived on in the hearts of the soldiers who would carry out humanity's revenge. The Council had wanted to send a message about Earth's place in the galaxy, but they had made a critical error. They had underestimated what humans were capable of when someone hurt their children. The silence was about to end. And when it did, the galaxy would learn that humanity's greatest weapon was not their technology or their military might. It was their absolute refusal to let the murder of an innocent child go unanswered. The Council had started this conflict by killing a 17-year-old girl who brought them seeds and songs and pictures of cherry blossoms. Now they would face the consequences of that choice and discover that some messages should never be sent. At exactly 12 for Universal Time, the attack began across 47 different star systems simultaneously. The Council's first warning came when their communication networks started failing one by one, but by then, it was already too late. Human fleets materialized out of nowhere using stealth technology that made their ships completely invisible, until the moment they chose to reveal themselves. On the bridge of his flagship, Admiral Kim watched as the first phase of the operation unfolded perfectly. Each human fleet had been positioned for months, waiting in the dark spaces between stars. Now they moved with precision that would have been impossible without the detailed intelligence Captain J and his reconnaissance teams had gathered. The Council's primary military base at Sector 7 was defended by what they considered an impenetrable shield system and weapons platforms that had never been defeated in 300 years of service. The base commanders were enjoying their morning meal when alarms began screaming throughout the facility. Base Commander Vex rushed to the control center, where his officers were staring at their screens in confusion and terror. Dozens of human ships had appeared around the base in perfect formation, but that should have been impossible. No ship could approach without being detected by their early warning systems, so the weapons officer reported, his voice shaking. Our shields are not responding. The power systems are failing. And our defensive weapons are offline. How is this possible? Captain J's ship led the human assault on the base. His voice crackled over the communication system, addressing the confused aliens directly. This is Captain J of the Earth Defense Force. You have 30 seconds to surrender unconditionally, or we will demonstrate why threatening human children was the worst mistake your species ever made. Commander Vex tried to activate emergency protocols, but nothing responded. The humans had not just bypassed their technology, they had completely taken control of it. Every system that the base relied on had been infiltrated and compromised months ago through quantum infiltration techniques that the Council had never imagined were possible. The 30 seconds passed in silence. Then the human ships opened fire, but not with conventional weapons. Instead, they deployed Dr. On's biological weapons into the base's atmosphere. Within minutes, every alien on the station was unconscious but alive. Captain J had specific orders about keeping certain individuals alive for interrogation. Similar scenes played out across the Galaxy. Council fleets found themselves surrounded by human ships that had somehow bypassed every known detection method. The aliens' own technology turned against them as weapon systems shut down. Life support failed, and communication networks collapsed on Kepler Station. Where Hana had died 6 months earlier, the revenge was personal and precise. Human soldiers moved through the corridors with deadly efficiency, led by Sergeant Park Hyun-woo, who wore Hana's photograph on his armor. The station's population found themselves trapped as the humans systematically located every individual who had participated in the girl's murder. The Vorthak representative, Zara, tried to establish communication with the human soldiers. Her crystalline form pulsed with desperate colors as she approached Sergeant Park. "Please," she said, "we tried to prevent what happened to your child. We voted against the Council's decision." Sergeant Park's response was cold and measured. "We know exactly who voted," for what he said. Our intelligence networks have been recording every council session for the past 6 months. You will be spared because you showed kindness to Hana. But those who participated in her death will face justice. Commander Doc was in his private quarters when human soldiers breached the sealed door. He had been celebrating the 6 months of human silence with expensive wine from his homeworld, believing that the threat from Earth had been permanently eliminated. The reptilian commander's arrogance crumbled when he saw the armed figures in advanced armor. The lead soldier removed his helmet, revealing the face of Sergeant Park Min-soo, who had volunteered specifically for this mission. His sister had been the same age as Hana, and he understood exactly what the girl's parents were feeling. "Commander Doc," he said, his voice steady and controlled, "you are under arrest for the murder of Park." Hana Doc's yellow eyes widened with surprise and then fury. "How dare you primitives attack the Galactic Council," he hissed. "Your entire species will be eliminated for this aggression. We have fleets that can destroy your pathetic world." Sergeant Park held up a small device that showed holographic displays of burning council ships across the galaxy. Had he corrected the alien commander? Past tense. "Your fleets are currently being destroyed by weapons systems that are centuries ahead of your technology." The device showed real-time footage from battle zones across council space. Ancient alien warships exploded as human weapons tore through their shields like paper. Defensive positions that had protected worlds for millennia crumbled under focused electromagnetic pulse attacks that shut down all technology in targeted areas. "Your species made a critical error," Sergeant Park continued as he secured restraints around Doc's wrists. "You assumed that because we were young, we were weak. You thought that because we seemed peaceful, we were helpless. But most importantly, you believed that killing one of our children would make us afraid." Doc struggled against the restraints, but the human technology was far beyond anything he could break. "You cannot do this," he protested. "The Council will retaliate against your homeworld." Park's expression didn't change as he activated his communication device. "Admiral Kim, this is Ground Team 7. We have secured the primary target." Admiral Kim's voice came through clearly. "Excellent work, Sergeant," informed Commander Doc that his homeworld surrendered 20 minutes ago. Their government has been dissolved and their military assets have been permanently disabled. The reptilian commander's face went pale as the implications sank in. "Impossible," he whispered. "Your species lacks the capability for such coordinated action across multiple star systems." Dr. An's voice joined the communication from Earth's command center. "Commander Doc, this is Dr. An Mi-young, head of xenobiology. For the past 6 months, we have been studying every aspect of Council civilization. Your technology, your biology, your psychology, and most importantly, your weaknesses." She continued her explanation with scientific precision. "We developed species-specific weapons that target genetic markers, unique to each alien race. We created delivery systems that could penetrate any known defensive technology. And we designed psychological warfare techniques that exploit your deepest cultural fears. But most importantly," Park added, "we did something your species has never experienced. We united our entire world behind a single purpose. When you killed Park Hana, you gave humanity something we had never had before: complete unity of purpose." Across the galaxy, the pattern repeated itself. Council worlds that had never known defeat found their defenses crumbling within hours. Species that had dominated galactic politics for centuries watched their fleets burn in space. Leaders who had ordered Hana's death were captured or eliminated with surgical precision. The Niblet homeworld surrendered immediately when their leaders realized that human ships had surrounded their planet. Their colorful fur turned white with terror as they broadcast their complete submission to Earth's authority. Pip, who had befriended Hana during her visit, personally delivered their surrender to prevent any bloodshed. The crystalline Vorthak world was spared direct attack because of Zara's friendship with Hana, but their government was dissolved and replaced with human oversight. Their beautiful crystal cities remained intact but under Earth's protection, rather than Council authority. Within 12 hours, 47 star systems had fallen to human forces. The speed and coordination of the attack was unprecedented in galactic history. But the humans were not finished yet. They had prepared for this moment for 6 months, and every detail had been planned with devastating precision. Admiral Kim, broadcast a message across the galaxy addressing all surviving council members. This is Fleet Admiral Kim Dae-ho of the Earth Defense Force. The Galactic Council is hereby dissolved. All member species are now under direct human authority. Any resistance will be met with complete elimination. The message continued with cold authority. 6 months ago, you murdered a 17-year-old girl named Park, Hana, who came to you in friendship. She brought seeds from her grandmother's farm songs from her mother and drawings of our beautiful world. She wanted to share Earth's culture and build bridges between our species. Instead, you killed her to send a message about humanity's place in the galaxy. Well received your message, and now you will receive ours. When you threaten our children, you don't just face retaliation, you face extinction. The day that had started with the Council's comfortable certainty of their dominance ended with humanity as the undisputed rulers of the galaxy. The aliens had learned too late that some messages should never be sent, and some species should never be underestimated. The stars had gone dark for the Council, but for humanity they had never burned brighter. 3 months after the day the stars went dark, Admiral Kim stood in the same chamber where Commander Doc had announced Hana's death, but now it served as the headquarters of Earth's galactic administration. The holographic displays showed human ships patrolling every major trade route, human colonies being established on former Council worlds, and human laws being enforced across 47 star systems. The galaxy's power structure had been completely rewritten in a single day. But the real work of building a new civilization was just beginning. President Choi arrived at the space station that had once been the Council's seat of power to address the surviving alien species for the first time since the war ended. She walked through corridors that had been scrubbed clean of any reminder of the old regime. Human engineers had removed the Council's symbols and replaced them with images from Earth mountains and oceans, forests and cities, but most prominently displayed were pictures that Hana had drawn during her brief time among the stars. The former Council chamber had been transformed into something entirely different. Instead of the cold, formal seating arrangement that had dominated galactic politics for centuries, the room now featured comfortable gathering areas where representatives could interact as equals, rather than in strict hierarchical order. President Choi took her place at the center of the room, not on a raised platform like the old Council leaders, but a ground level where she could look directly into the eyes of every being present. The surviving alien species watched her with mixtures of fear, respect, and curiosity, representatives of the galaxy. She began her voice carrying clearly through the Chamber 3. Months ago, your leaders made a decision that changed everything forever. They chose to murder an innocent child to send a message about humanity's place among the stars. Today, I stand before you to explain what that place actually is. The Vorthak representative Zara sat in the front row, her crystalline form pulsing with nervous colors beside her. Pip of the Niblets kept his fur a respectful brown, while his 6 arms remained perfectly still. Both had been granted special status because of their friendship with Hana during her final days. We could have responded to your leader's cruelty with complete genocide. President Choi continued, Dr. An's biological weapons were capable of eliminating every member of species that participated in Hana's murder. Our military forces could have turned your homeworlds into lifeless rocks floating in space. She paused, letting the weight of her words settle over the gathered representatives. But that is not who we are. We are the species that produces children like Park Hana, who carry seeds and songs and pictures of beautiful places to share with strangers. We believe in building rather than destroying, and creating rather than conquering. Captain J entered the chamber carrying a small potted plant that drew gasps from many of the alien representatives. It was growing from soil taken from Hana's grandmother's farm and had been carefully tended during the months of preparation for war. The plant had small white flowers that reminded everyone of the cherry blossoms in Hana's drawings. This plant grew from seeds that Hana brought to share with you, President Choi said as Captain J placed it on a pedestal in the center of the room. She wanted to show you the beauty of Earth to help you understand that humans could contribute something valuable to galactic civilization. But your leaders saw only threat where she offered friendship. They saw invasion where she offered partnership. and they saw conquest where she offered cooperation. So they killed her, and in doing so, they forced us to become something we never wanted to be. The room remained silent as President Choi walked around, the small plant, her hand gently touching its leaves. The new galactic order will be built on different principles than the old council. We will not rule through fear or maintain power through violence. Every species in this galaxy will have the opportunity to contribute to our shared civilization. However, she continued, her voice becoming harder. There will be no tolerance for threats against human children or the children of any species under our protection. The weapon systems that destroyed your fleets in 12 hours remain active and ready. Our intelligence networks continue to monitor every communication, every movement, every thought of rebellion. Admiral Kim stepped forward, carrying a data pad that contained detailed information about Earth's new military capabilities. We have established permanent bases in every star system. He announced human fleets patrol all major space lanes, and our early warning systems can detect any ship larger than a transport vessel anywhere. In the galaxy, General Yoon joined them, carrying another device that displayed the locations of human colonies being established on former council worlds. These settlements are not military outposts, he explained. They are farming communities, research stations, and cultural centers where human families will raise their children among the stars. Dr. An appeared on the chamber's main screen, broadcasting from Earth, where she continued her research into alien biology and culture. The biological weapons used during the war have been stored in secure facilities, she reported. But our research continues. We now understand every aspect of your physiology, your psychology, and your social structures. This knowledge will be used to help us build a better galaxy together, she continued. But it also serves as a reminder of what happens to those who threaten innocent children. We have the capability to eliminate any species that chooses violence over cooperation. President Choi returned to the center of the room, standing beside Hana's plant, which seemed to glow under the chamber's lights. The girl who died in this very station dreamed of a galaxy where different species could learn from each other, where humans and aliens could build something beautiful together. That dream died with her, she said quietly. But from her death, something else was born, a galaxy where no child of any species will ever again be murdered to send a political message. A civilization where strength protects the innocent rather than exploiting them. The Niblet representative, Pip, raised one of his 6 arms and spoke, for the first time during the meeting. What of those species who remain neutral, he asked. What of worlds that had no part in the decision to harm your child, President? Choi smiled for the first time during the address. Neutrality in the face of evil is still a choice, she replied, but it is not an unforgivable one. Species that had no direct involvement in Hana's murder will be given the opportunity to prove their commitment to the new order. They will contribute to galactic civilization through trade, research, and cultural exchange, she continued. They will help us build the kind of galaxy that Hana dreamed of. But they will do so under human oversight, and with the understanding that Earth's protection comes with Earth's authority. Zara's crystalline form began to pulse with brighter colors as she stood to address the room. We of the Vorthak pledge our loyalty to the new order, she announced. We will help build the galaxy that the human child envisioned. We will ensure that her memory lives on in the beauty we create together. Other representatives began to stand, voicing similar pledges of cooperation and loyalty. The galaxy's surviving leaders understood that they faced a simple choice. They could work with humanity to build something better than the old council, or they could face the same fate as those who had chosen violence. President Choi watched as the chamber filled with voices promising cooperation, development, and peace. The transformation was remarkable, but she knew it would take generations to fully realize Hana's dream of true friendship between species. As the meeting concluded, Captain J carefully moved Hana's plant to a place of honor near the chamber's main window, where it could receive light. From the station's artificial sun, the small white flowers seemed to glow against the darkness of space, serving as a permanent reminder of the girl who had wanted nothing more than to share Earth's beauty with the stars. President Choi remained in the chamber after the other representatives had left, looking out at the galaxy that now belonged to humanity. The cost of this victory had been higher than anyone could have imagined. But from the ashes of the old order, something new was growing. Somewhere, in the vastness of space, human children were being born on worlds that had never known Earth's touch. They would grow up in a galaxy where their safety was guaranteed by the most powerful military force in known history. They would never face the kind of hatred and fear that had killed Parkhana. The new galactic order had been bought with the blood of one innocent girl, but it would be built on the foundation of her dream. A civilization where different species could learn from each other, where diversity was celebrated rather than feared, and where no child would ever again pay the price for adult ambitions. The galaxy had learned that humanity's greatest strength was not their technology or their weapons, but their absolute refusal to let harm come to their children and in the gentle light of Hana's flowers. That lesson would bloom forever among the stars.